I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. We are living through unprecedented times. As a result, the Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund was created. This fund, administered by the state of Michigan, is designed to help homeowners cope with pandemic-related hardships, such as delinquent property taxes. Residents may apply for up to $25,000 to help cover 2019, 2020, and 2021 tax years. Previous year's taxes must be paid in full or in a payment agreement with the Treasurer's office. Eligible homeowners must have a qualified financial hardship that occurred on or after January 21st, 2020. You must currently own and occupy your home as your primary residence and must have owned it since January 21st, 2020. To see if you qualify, please visit waynemetro.org, call 313-388-9799, or email taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Week That Was. My name is Saeed Khan, and I don't even know where to begin. There is just so much that's been happening this week, but I guess a good place to start is to go through the list of our really wonderful panelists for today. We have attorney Joel Sklar. We have host of Detroit in Black and White, Adolph Mongo. We have president of BME Consulting and former director of Wayne County Public Services Department, Beverly Watts. And we've got, at least for right now, the icon of pollster Ed Sarpolis. And of course,
I'm a ghost today.
Okay. And we've got the co-founder of Deadline Detroit, as always, Allan Lengel. So given that we usually start with the political and the legal, I thought we would go ahead and call an audible here. Let's talk about the Lions. Allan, I think you've got a clip.
All right. That was outstanding. You know, that was a fun one for the guys, and you know, it was a total team effort. You know, and it's easy to go through here, and it's actually not easy to go through here and start picking out individual players. There's a ton of guys that played really well, but you know, I didn't realize this, but that was David Montgomery's first time to get a win against the Packers, so that's pretty impressive. And then,
so the Packers go down to the Lions 34-20 at Lambeau Field, which means, of course, a few things. The first actually, this is the second time that the Lions have beat the Packers up there, and also the fact that the Lions don't have to play in Lambeau Field at the end of the season when it gets bone-chilling cold. The fact that 30% estimated of the crowd at Lambeau Field, which is notoriously difficult to get a seat and a ticket, had Honolulu Blue jerseys on there. So it was very much feeling as though it was a home away from home game. Is this the year, folks? Beverly, I know you've got maybe even some money on it.
Absolutely. I have money. And this will be one bet that I won't be unhappy to lose, because I did bet against our Lions that we would not make the playoffs, not against them, but the playoffs. But if we continue on this track, I think I'm going to lose that. But, you know, oh well. But, you know, we've been loyal fans for years. I mean, if we go all the way, even playoffs, even to the Super Bowl, look, when they were losing, we were selling them out. You know, season tickets were sold out. So if we get somewhere, we don't even know how to party. Hell, we've been partying when they've been losing. Mm-hmm. So this is one party we're going to have to top ourselves if they win, because we've been selling them out for years, and unfortunately they haven't been winning. But go Lions.
Well, be careful, Beverly, because the last time we really knew how to party up a victory around here was 1984 with the Tigers winning.
Yes.
And the fact that the Super Bowl is going to be in 2024, meaning 40 years later.
Wow.
I can still smell the smoke and the embers from the Tigers winning the World Series. So be careful what you ask for.
I know. I will not be betting on whether they're going to make it to the Super Bowl or not. I know. I don't have that money to lose, but go Lions.
But just to give a little, you know, reality check, they have been losing for 60 some years. I love the Lions. I've had my heart broken a million times. I can see a situation where they can win 8 games in a row and then lose 8 games in a row. I've been down this road. I just think it feels different. It sounds different, but it's a long, long season. But it is great. Today is a great day. It's great.
Well, what I like is the fact that I go to Green Bay a lot up for meetings and clients. What's interesting, when I'm going to go back this week, I know the fact that all the Michiganders will start showing, even though they're living in Green Bay now, start showing their Lions clothes. So when you go to that stadium, a lot of that, you go to a game in Green Bay, you see a lot of Michigan residents wearing Lions, but now they'll come out of the closet.
I think it's interesting. I went to a FedEx game when I was living in D.C. And the Redskins at the time were playing the Lions. The Lions got killed, and I think every team expected to kill the Lions. So it's nice. I mean, the scary thing is, they're always a few injuries away from not being a great team, but they do have a pretty deep bench, and they won last week with a lot of injuries, and the guy Branch, who's fantastic. Right. I thought he was gone for the season. He had an injury, and they brought him back later in the game.
And they're well coached.
Keep our fingers. They're well coached. They finally got their shit together. They got the right owner, Sheila Ford. They've got the right general manager. Yes. They've got the right coach. Finally got it together.
Why don't y'all stop all that bullshit? Because we all know that the Lions are not going anywhere. All of a sudden, they got the right ownership. Fuck the Lions. Lions not going anywhere. You know what? This is your Super Bowl. Enjoy it. They're going to have a parade on Monday. Duggan going to get him the key to the city, and that's the Super Bowl. The Lions are not going anywhere. They're overrated.
Look, I want you to keep that energy because that's going to be fuel for us to
Screw
continue
the Lions.
To win.
All of a sudden, Allan Lengel, sports writer. Allan Lengel, sports writer. There's great. Yes. The ownership. Listen, the ownership, they needed to dump the Lions years ago. They ran it in the ground. This was a place where players and coaches came to die. Maybe now they're doing the average thing like other teams.
Well, you know what?
But not going to Super Bowl.
They got the right Ford this time.
Yes.
They've had a lot.
Exactly.
I mean,
what, an Edsel, a Pinto, a Maverick, a Colt. What Ford do they have?
They have a woman. They have a woman. That's what they have. That's what they have.
Is it the old version of the Thunderbird, the new version, the 1990 version? Please tell me, which version is it?
We're going to get it done this year. We are.
Okay. I'm in the middle of hell with these people that's drinking the Kool-Aid. Oh man, I just can't believe you.
I'm going to give you a picture and I'm buying you a shirt, Adolf.
Adolf, I mean, that's so negative that I think we're going to have viewers call in and from the Detroit Police Department saying, we'll even bring the squad car in front of your house and torch it ourselves when we win. So,
well, and the guy that did it, Bubba, he was from downriver, so he wasn't even a Detroiter. So don't even put that on us.
Fair enough. Well, switching gears then, now that we've got that, and Adolf certainly has it out of his system, it looks like finally the numbers have caught up with former President Donald J. Trump. That maybe he is never or has never been as wealthy as he's projected himself to be. A New York judge has declared Trump to be liable for fraudulent business practices in a civil case up there. And now it seems that all that's left is to go over the numbers and see how they're going to possibly break up the Trump Corporation, and even I believe they have suspended their business licenses and certificates. So, Joel, take us through summary judgment and what remains for the Donald.
Okay, well, summary judgment is when a party files a motion with the court that says there are no facts in dispute and I win as a matter of law, and that can be for judgment or it can be to dismiss the case. And in this case, the judge granted this New York's, I guess the state's, motion for summary judgment. And now the only issue that's left is damages. So the court said, I believe there's liability. There is a matter of law. There is liability. And now the next stage is going to be how much are the damages? What is the amount? It's in this type of case, I was surprised. There were cross motions for summary. To find that there's no issues of fact that a jury has to determine, that's a high standard. So I'm curious if it will survive repeal, but it is a gut punch.
I have a question for you, Joel. In terms of when you do a summary judgment, do you open yourself up to more possibilities of an appeal? Are there more issues that can come up?
Absolutely. I mean, one issue is that the judge, were there really issues that were not in dispute, that a jury didn't have to determine? Were there credibility issues that were in dispute that a jury had to determine? And in this case, what the judge found is that there were no disputes as to the facts, which I didn't read the briefs, but that's what she found. And because there were no dispute of the material facts, judgment was entered in favor of New York.
Yeah, but Joel, wasn't also the fact that the defense was pushing for summary judgment because they said that there was no facts. Well, so both sides wanted summary judgment, but the one who won it was the wrong guy.
Right. There were cross motions. That happens all the time. But it was a really stunning decision. And again, it is a gut punch. I think it's immediate. I don't think some of these things I don't think there's a stay that was granted. I think the Court of Appeals or a medium appellate court looked and they did not grant a stay. So it will have an immediate effect. And I understand that you can't do business in New York anymore once they pull those licenses.
Well, not only the other thing, the two brothers say we don't have a place to sleep anymore because they don't even own their beds because of this law, this ruling.
Yeah, it was stunning. But it's a blow, man. That's no question about it.
But it just makes his campaign stronger. It means that the Trumpers, they just double down now. You know, they backed in a corner. They killing our candidate. So you know what? Listen, the Democrats better be on their toes because this guy can win.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Beverly.
No, I was going to say on that point, Adolph, I sort of agree with you because I was going to say the average voter is not a lawyer who's looking at all the legalese. When you look at it now, some can construe it as a lot of pile on. This is a civil infraction, so it's potentially with this last judgment, he probably can't serve any jail time. So some of the voters are starting to think maybe this is a pile on because a lot of the charges did start coming, soon when he started announcing he was going to run again in this year. However, I don't believe that it's going to, he will get more money because as you know, when more charges come out, his bank account goes up, his donations go through the roof. But I think at the end of the day, again, this is going to be a tough decision, but I think that it's not going to produce him more votes from people who against him. Again, the last election, my opinion, I don't think it was totally for President Biden. I think it was against Trump getting back into office. But again, it's starting to feel like, to the average voter, a lot of pile on, because they're not lawyers.
I think Beverly's right in terms of people voting not so much for but against. And I saw that in 2016. I remember being at Western High School in Southwest Detroit, and I was interviewing a Hispanic woman. I said, "Did you vote? Who did you vote for?" And she said, "I voted for Hillary." And I said, "Did you vote for Hillary or did you vote against Trump?" She said, "I voted." She goes, "The choice was between the flu and cancer. I picked the flu."
Well, as a matter of fact, if you look at polling right now, Beverly, actually the reason why Biden's tied with Trump is the fact that he's losing the people of color vote because they don't want to vote, and the young people are not intended to vote next year. So unless the black people and the people of color to get motivated, they're staying home. That's why Biden might lose.
Well, you know what? The Democrats, they play the same old game. We got them in our pocket. We don't need to court them. And that's what happened to Hillary. Hillary didn't even send a piece of literature to Detroit when she ran. And Biden and them are doing the same thing. They taking this block of votes for granted. I'm gonna tell you, Donald Trump, he brings his own food to the picnic. He don't beg anybody else. And that means he has a spread. He has people that would die for him.
Here's Donald.
I do. Wait a minute. I do agree to some extent, but I'll say this. Even the last election, the black community will show up. Maybe we don't show up 2 years in advance because, hey, we're going to show up when it gets to 2024. When it comes time, if we feel like Trump has a good chance of getting in, which the poll numbers now, they're not paying attention. Trust me. The black community will show up in 2024. We're going to keep this state blue. They're not going to chance of going back to red. So, Adolph, you and I debate this all the time.
There's folks in the black community, especially young black men, that like Trump. Yeah. And they voted for Trump. Trump is popular in some circles. All the rappers love Trump. I'm just telling you.
Right. They love Trump. They like him. They're young. But when it came time to vote, They did not come out in the numbers that we all anticipated that they would do. Your seniors, your women,
a non-vote
the seniors and the women will always come through. The women and the seniors will always come through.
But a no vote for the Democrats is a vote for Trump. If they don't go out and vote, that's a vote for Trump.
Yes, but I can't see any scenario where the black community will vote for Donald Trump.
Excuse me, guys. The last 2 years ago and 4 years ago, the young black male is the one that's leaning Republican more and more and more, like in Oakland, Macomb County. Forget about that's a matter of fact. When I was looking at the Marlinga race, look at all the races that I've done here in Michigan, all around the country. The young black male is like we were the Reagan Democrats out of Macomb County. There now you have the black Republican Democrats that are looking. Hey, I want to be like Trump, not because they want his lifestyle, but because he doesn't give a shit.
Right, but all that still didn't get Trump reelected. So, I'm still saying, yes.
The idea that it seems like his supporters will forgive just about any lie. But will they forgive him for not being a good businessman? I mean, that was the real thing that he was hanging on the hook, saying, I'm a great businessman. I'm so wealthy and I've got this. And this case really exposes himself for being a paper businessman.
People don't care. People don't care. Listen, Harold Washington, when he ran for mayor of Chicago, they say he didn't pay his phone bills. He was behind in his rent. His car got repossessed, and he got elected mayor of Chicago because people say, I deal with that shit every day. The same thing. You know what? Failed business.
Barry out of D.C. got reelected.
Yes.
Right. Okay, we have a couple appearances here of Trump and Biden. Do we want to play a couple of these little videos?
Yeah, let's go.
Yesterday, Joe Biden came to Michigan to pose for photos at the picket line. But it's his policies that send Michigan auto workers to the unemployment line. He only came after I announced that I would be here. He announced quite a bit later. Spoke for a few seconds. Did you notice he spoke for what? A few seconds? And he had absolutely no idea what he was saying. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know what we were saying. Where am I? He's saying, where am I? Oh, you're in Michigan. Oh, that's great. What do they do in Michigan? They grow wheat in Michigan, he said. Don't they grow wheat? No, that's Iowa and other places. Biden's cruel and ridiculous electrical. Think of this. He wants electric vehicle mandates that will spell the death of the U.S. auto industry.
Then we have Biden.
I watched a lot of UAW picket lines when I was a senator since 1973, but I tell you what, first time I've ever done it as president. Folks, look, one thing is real simple, and it's very brief. The fact of the matter is that you guys, the UAW, you saved the automobile industry back in 2008 and before. Made a lot of sacrifices, gave up a lot, and the companies were in trouble. But now they're doing incredibly well. And guess what? You should be doing incredibly well too.
I think what's incredulous is that he's on a campaign against he's using the electrical vehicles, saying there's going to, eliminate jobs and stuff like that. The electrical vehicles, there are some question marks in terms of the batteries are extremely heavy, which are hard on the roads. The cars are heavier. They're more dangerous to the lighter cars. And the batteries are an environmental nightmare in some third world countries where they're getting all the resources together. But that being said, we're moving forward with the electrical vehicles, and he's trying to campaign against that and telling the workers beware. I think that's an incredible stand to take.
It's like taking the position that the horse and carriage guys, you should let automobiles be built because they're going to take us out of business. It's absurd. Progress is happening. Technology is improving. The cost is going to be more efficient. You can't stop that. It's just, it's pandering to the idiocy. It's pandering, I think, to the lowest common denominator.
Well, the best thing that happened, I agree with you, Joe. The best thing that happened is the new EV batteries will be actually half the weight and liquid versus solid weight. And number two, his speech was given at a Republican business center, and the people holding union signs have confessed they weren't even union members.
Yeah.
Or
Exactly.
apparently they weren't even auto workers, as somebody
Exactly.
admitted to the Detroit News.
They did.
It's a non-union place that he did it at. I can tell you, being a participant in the Labor Day parades, that there's a big anti-Trump sentiment. So he couldn't go on the picket line like Joe Biden did. Joe Biden was welcomed, beloved there on the picket line. If Trump had shown up, I think you would have seen some hostility there. He didn't want to risk it, so he created this very insular, environment.
Yeah, it's the same antics. He'll say what Biden is for and against the EV, and he dodges the questions about what is he for. If you're running for president again, what do you stand for? And then again, he's going to come out with the jokes. He teeter-totters on, oh, no, I don't think Biden is too old. I just think he's, maybe not sane. But then again, you're saying this. He doesn't know where he was. He doesn't know what Michigan does and all of this. So, he's doing the same old Donald Trump SNL antics.
Beverly, that's not fair. I mean, he did say that he's warning us about World War II coming up. So
he ran against Obama.
Right. I forgot that one.
Yeah, and he ran against Obama. Great point on that one. But what about this idea that he's trying to persuade union folk to be against leadership like Sean Fain, who's out there negotiating? I mean, how wise is that as a strategy?
Well, he's taken a page out of the playbook of Reagan. Reagan fired thousands of air traffic controllers when they went on strike, and yet Macomb County, full of UAW auto workers, they backed this Reagan like he was their daddy. And no question.
Well, the only thing that's different here, the fact that Trump said, don't waste your time on the picket line, just vote for him. So he asked that was really stupid. And I will guarantee you, there are the solid white males left in the union that will vote for Trump, as they did 12% back before. That's not going to change. But about him saying you don't need to, it's wasting your time on the picket line, that was really a slap in the face.
And he's saying, hey, so what? In 3, 4, or 5 weeks, you'll get a raise, but you won't have a job because of electrical vehicles in 2 years. So, I don't get where he thinks he's going to derail the electrical vehicle.
He's not going to.
Electric vehicle.
He's just going to piss off his boy Elon Musk.
Yeah.
He's not really going to try.
So it looks like there's a few more factories and plants that are actually set to go on strike in 6 minutes. GM's Lansing Delta Township Assembly, Ford's Chicago Assembly plant in Illinois. So 7,000 more auto workers going onto the picket line. How are things looking regarding the negotiations? How are things looking regarding the UAW at this stage?
I would say it depends on what Bill Ford does with the labor group within the next 2 weeks. Bill Ford was on talking about the fact there are close to many issues, their distance. Ford will set the stage. What happens with Ford will happen with the other two in the end.
Yeah, I think Ford is trying the hardest to really make it come to a deal there, and I agree with that. Once it happens, I mean, these things are scary because the economy is impacted and all that. But in the end, the UAW still has a lot of leverage that they're able to shut down operations, and that's a powerful thing. Having been on strike at the newspapers, we were not able to stop the production, although we cut the production probably in half. They were still able to put out the paper, and that's, it's a big deal. But when you can shut down the operations, you've still got some leverage there.
Exactly. And then I think that this is the UAW, I think with their solidarity is expanding to other industries. You look at the casino workers, possibly, you look at Blue Cross, you look at the health industry. It's really giving a lot of encouragement and momentum to others to strike, because they're really getting tired of this. This gap is getting wider with the top execs, the white collar, and the frontline workers. So I think that the UAW and their solidarity and what they're doing is really having an impact on other industries and other employees to say, hey, let's take it to the street because this wealth gap is getting too wide.
Yeah. Even doctors are unionizing in some hospitals.
Yes.
You've got that. You've got the Writers Guild of America has just reached a tentative agreement, but not the Screen Actors Guild. So, I mean, this is certainly a time for labor activism.
It's union time. It's union time. I
is.
like the new president of the UAW. I just thought he should have just shut down the charity preview too. I thought that was a missed opportunity. If you're gonna play hardball with these folks, play hardball.
Talking about it at the auto show. The prom night there.
Yeah, but I have to disagree with that because I do like the prom night. But that prom night raises a lot of money for charity.
It don't matter.
So that's why
you send a message. That's why you send a message. You take the money out of the pockets because a lot of those Ford workers gonna be part of those charities that they get the money to. If they don't get a real contract, and you stop this two-tier system where one person making $15 an hour and the one next to you doing the same work making $30 or $40 an hour. That's ridiculous.
Okay, but you got to remember on goes the fact that a good portion of the Ford board is actually union leaders on that board. So union leaders are also going to say what happens on that board.
Yes.
Well, you know, Ed, that these union leaders at the past 20, 30 years, you couldn't tell who was management and who was union because they were in bed with these folks. And now we got somebody that says, fuck that. I'm not in bed with management. I'm for the working people. And this guy, I was suspect that he gonna come from nowhere and lead. This guy, he got it. He gets it. He gets it. Now he gotta make sure that it don't explode in his face.
Well, he's lucky because he's not Hoffa with the baggage. Okay, so he's got the fame. He doesn't have the Hoffa baggage.
I agree with Adolf that the UAW. I think was a beloved union, at least publicly. And then you had two of their presidents go off to prison, and they were fat cats. And look, the companies were paying off these guys to get contracts, and I'd be shocked if there was anything going on there, with all that now. But so I think the UAW needs to rebuild itself as a union and having some credibility, because it's lost a lot of credibility.
Well, the feds are monitoring the UAW in Michigan. You know that, don't you?
Right. Yeah. Like the Teamsters. The Teamsters were under receivership or whatever for 25 years or some
Well, that's happening with the UAW right now in Michigan.
Right. And deservedly so because of what's happened.
Well, so Trump isn't the only one who's throwing shade on the whole idea about EV. This seemed to be a thread around the GOP debate number 2 that happened this week. Anyone want to assess?
I got a little bit.
Who lost?
I have a little here, but it's not a lot of substance. But
Joe Biden should not be on the picket line. He should be on the southern border, working to close our southern border because it is unsafe, wide open, and insecure.
Look, I do disagree with something Tim Scott just said. Joe Biden doesn't belong on a picket line. He belongs on the unemployment line. As President of the United States, I'll be standing with workers all across America, and I'll be standing for the right to work of every American to join a union or not join a union as they decide.
If the government shuts down, should voters blame populist Republicans?
Voters should blame everybody who's in Washington, D.C.
Where's Joe Biden? He's completely missing in action from leadership. And you know who else is missing in action? Donald Trump is missing in action. He should be on this stage tonight. He owes it to you to defend his record where they added $7.8 trillion to the debt.
And I want to look at that camera right now and tell you, Donald, I know you're watching. You can't help yourself. I know you're watching, okay? And you're not here tonight. Not because of polls and not because of your indictments. You're not here tonight because you're afraid of being on this stage and defending your record. You're ducking these things. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You keep doing that, no one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
I think he worked on that for 10 days minimum.
I know.
Well, is Alfred Newman running for president?
What do you worry?
Republicans just get Pat Paulson to like he always ran when he ran from Traverse City to come down to help him out.
So what do you think?
What I think is this. One, this was the best. One, it's the proper number is number 2. They did go number 2 in the second debate. Okay. Number 2, this was a gift to Biden because the first ad he produced was using everything that sent the set that said at the debate. Number 3, Pence basically attacked his wife, who's a member of the NEA, so he's going to say right to work. The bottom line is you've got DeSantis. I said he ignored the fact that 2.5 million people don't have insurance. The bottom line, this was a gift to Biden on Wednesday night.
No, I totally agree with that. And I would say that lucky for them, and I want these debates to continue, though. They're very entertaining, but lucky for them, the writer's strike has ended because they were becoming the new Saturday Night Live SNL skit. So I want to keep debates. I want them to add more debates because the more they shine the light on how they're not qualified, I agree with you, Ed. The gifts keep coming to Biden related to the debates.
I think Fox did a pretty horrible job of trying to keep things in order. I mean, there were people talking over each other and they wouldn't shut up, and they threatened to turn off someone's mic and stuff like that, which they should have. They should be able to turn off a mic right away when somebody starts yapping, but they let it go, and it was really chaotic. And it looks good for the Democrats to see this total chaos here.
I don't think Vivek Ramaswamy allowed Nikki Haley to have a full sentence articulated at any given time, given how much he was trying to interrupt her, and that seemed to be pretty much par for the course. Well, while that drama was happening and certainly entertaining Beverly on primetime TV, there's other drama happening in Washington. We are on the eve of I don't know if it's destruction, but certainly a government shutdown. And we can certainly talk about that. But while that's been going on, some really serious business was happening yesterday on the congressional side in a committee dealing with impeachment possibilities of President Biden. And Alan, I think you've got a clip.
Okay, let me see here. Whoops. Shit. All right, keep talking while I find this. Oh, here we go.
Their witnesses, who had no facts to present, told the committee that they had no case for impeaching President Biden.
I want to emphasize what it is that we're here today for. This is a question of an impeachment inquiry. It is not a vote on articles of impeachment. In fact, I do not believe that the current evidence would support articles of impeachment.
It's interesting. I mean, what he basically was saying is, look, you can't get impeached. You can't have an impeachment proceeding for lying. And, the question is, I watched a lot of the hearing yesterday, and it's like, here it is 8 months into this, and the GOP brought 3 witnesses who are not fact-based witnesses. They have nothing to offer there. And that was sort of the point. The question is, there was enough raised that did Joe Biden maybe talk to Hunter Biden about what was going on with his business dealings or something? It's certainly a possibility. And could he have lied about that? It's certainly a possibility, but it's not impeachable. I mean, if we were talking about lying being an impeachable offense, Trump wouldn't have made it past his second day.
Well, you know what? Impeachment moving forward is not going to mean any fucking thing anymore.
Right.
Because the way the Republicans is about revenge. Trump been impeached twice, etc. If we go back to George Bush, their reasoning, we could impeach George W. Bush because his wife killed somebody driving when he wasn't president. This is what they trying to get his son, who's probably a scumbag. He is a scumbag, but send him to jail, prosecute him, but to say you got to impeach the president because it's about a revenge factor. So whoever in control moving forward, let's impeach him. Being impeached is going to mean jack shit anymore. Who cares? Okay, we impeach Biden. He wins in the Senate, and we move on.
The difference is with Nixon, you would have had enough votes in the Senate from Republicans you would have got the 60 votes to impeach. Here, it's set up. Look, the Republicans weren't going to impeach Trump, convict, and the Democrats are never going to, unless something's just so crazy that, and they have no evidence of Joe Biden getting any money. They've been getting bank records and all that kind of stuff. They've got nothing. And the whole hearing yesterday was basically, do you think they had a forensic CPA or whatever, and asking, does this raise a question? Well, yes, that'd be something I would look at. There was no evidence introduced during the hearing.
Do you think they want to impeach the president and Vice President Harris become president?
Right.
they backed in the corner. All these people that hate the vice president, okay, they want to impeach Biden. Man, you can't have it both ways.
Well, the other problem that they had, the only evidence that they had was when he was not president in October of 2017 or running for office. That was the only evidence that they could have tied it to him. And number two, Romney's book said they would have impeached Trump, the Republicans would, if they had a confidential vote. So bottom line is the fact Republicans would, but this, we're hearing anything on Biden.
It's interesting how they keep bringing up this talking point about now Hunter Biden getting $5 million allegedly from China. Came up a few times, especially with Nikki Haley at the debate. So I don't know what kind of triangulation they're doing, but it seems as though the demonization of China is also really at the core of this. Well, all this while, tomorrow, the government may run out of money. Alan.
As real quickly, it's interesting. People say, oh, Hunter Biden had no experience or whatever, sitting on the board of Burisma. If you look at corporate America, I can't tell you how many boards have people who have names but know nothing about the auto industry.
Exactly.
Know nothing about the media business. When we were on strike, we went to visit all the board members from Gannett and Knight Ritter. We went to Manhattan, and there was Tom Brokaw's wife, Meredith Brokaw, who has a toy store on the Upper West Side. It was called Penny Whistle. She didn't have any media experience, except she was married to somebody in the media. It's not, and she probably got $50,000 for sitting on the board. I mean, it's not unusual at all for companies to grab big names to help embellish their business. So,
well, the diplomatic corps does that also with handing out ambassadorships.
Right.
I mean, some of these people probably couldn't find half the countries to which they're appointed on a map,
or spell them,
or spell them, or even know the language. But they're given out as political favors. I remember back during the Obama administration, I was doing an event at the U.S. Embassy in London, bringing in a bunch of at-risk British Muslim kids. And the ambassador was Leon Sussman, a big-time Chicago businessman. Obama appointed him to be ambassador to the Court of St. James. And we had a bunch of sandwiches and hors d'oeuvres out. And out of sensitivity to dietary needs, some of the placards said halal on them, and the next one said like chicken sandwiches. Ambassador Sussman comes up to me and says, "So what's in a halal sandwich?" I'm like, "Oi, oi."
That's a rough one.
You can't make this up. Wow.
Can't make it up. Made me kvetch, I'm telling you. But all this happening, though, while tomorrow the government may, in fact, shut down if there's not a legislation. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy seems to be having an absolute prison riot within his own caucus, is scared to bring up even a bill to a vote because he doesn't believe that he has enough support among the Republican caucus, and God forbid he might have to rely on the Democrats to help him take it over the finish line. And Matt Gaetz from Florida openly gunning for the idea that he could become the next Speaker of the House.
God.
Yeah.
It's frightening.
Yeah, McCarthy's in a bad spot, but even when he cut the deal to get himself to be the Speaker, he knew this day could come. It's unfortunate. This is very serious when you look at frontline workers that could happen tomorrow. And meanwhile, Congress should suspend their checks. That's really the crime here. Yeah. How do you continue to get your checks if there's a shutdown? And then you have these workers where some of the programs will be shut down, airports will be affected, the Air Force, the veterans. I mean, this is crazy. And with all of this craziness continues to go on, I feel that you really disenfranchise and shut down the voters. But this should really engage the voters to get these nuts out of there.
Well,
this is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you know that they shut down. They voted down the amendment that would eliminate congressional pay during a CRE or a shutdown. They voted against that. So they're protecting themselves.
And it's a tyranny of the extreme right. I mean, he can't control his own party because of the extreme right membership in the party who are cohesive against burning everything down, right? They're nihilistic. They want to burn it down, and that's what they're trying to do. So I don't know how he's going to get beyond this impasse. He's weak. You know, he was weak when he began, and then you have these insane people dictating policy, which is not what's supposed to fucking happen. And
well, look at what's happening, Joel. I mean, you've got some real vital amendments like Marjorie Taylor Greene proposing that Secretary of Defense Austin be given only a salary of $1. I mean, that's
She said yesterday during the hearing yesterday, she said, look, everyone's still going to get paid. And they were like, what are you talking about? She's so out of touch with reality, and there's such a disregard for the facts.
Well, what's probably going to happen? What's probably going to happen is that the congressman is going to do a floor vote to eliminate McCarthy as leadership. McCarthy will cut a deal with the Dems to vote him back in his leadership. That's when this all be all done. Whenever that happens, then we'll see something happening on the shutdown.
And Kevin McCarthy will forever be known as a bipartisan, which I want to put on his tombstone. That'll kill him. Well, Alan, I mean, to be fair, Marjorie Taylor Greene was a little bit distracted. She did try to reach out to members of the tribe by tweeting "Happy Yom Kippur" with a menorah. Yes,
I was touched. I was quelling.
Yeah. Apparently, she realized her mistake and she space lasered the tweet out of existence. So,
by the way, when you mentioned tombstone, I always think of David Brenner, the comedian, who said he wanted on his tombstone to say, "If this is a joke, I don't get it."
Well, closer to home, the Michigan Republican Party was meeting up at Mackinac. And it seems as though some of the things that were coming out of there showed that it's not your older brother's Republican Party with Christina Caramo. Ed, what was going on?
Basically, 95% of the Republican Party that normally goes did not show up. That was basically the story. I encouraged my daughter, who got married there 2 years ago when that happened before, and she says it was naked this time. There was nobody there. So Caramo was ruling the roost. They had one speaker and all the rest were basically small business people. And the bottom line is it was a failure. Matter of fact, they still owe money to pay off the event.
And they're not raising any money, are they? A lot of the real money people in the Republican Party aren't giving.
No. Okay. They got trash people donating to the event. They got people who don't really make any sense their donation, all because they get to list their packages that they're a MAGA Republican.
Oh my gosh. Crazy. Okay. More disarray.
Yes.
The Democrats aren't exactly immune to possible shakeups. We were talking about, as Adolf said, if Biden somehow or the other got convicted by the Senate in an impeachment hearing, that means President Kamala Harris. I don't know. Do the Republicans actually think that if Biden gets impeached, that somehow the other Republican just automatically comes back in to serve out the rest of his term? But there is talk right now about the possibility of primarying Biden. In fact, Congressman Dean Phillips from Minnesota has said, I'm not ruling that out. I mean, is he just trying to create some visibility and some buzz for himself?
And Ed can probably address this better, but I think it's too late for any, particularly a no name like that, stepping forward and saying, I'm here to save the day. I mean, if some big name in the party, which I can't even think of who that might be, certainly not Robert Kennedy Jr., but I think it's too late for somebody, particularly a no name person, to step up.
Well, actually, what's going on behind the scenes, there has been talk because, Kennedy Jr. is now talking with the independent party to run as an independent. So he may no longer be in the Democratic primary. what is important is there's a group of people under Carvel and a couple other consultants. They think that Biden would do better with some kind of reason to get active in the primary to defeat somebody so he could be more visible before the general election.
That's interesting.
Well, there is talk about perhaps Glenn Youngkin jumping into the race on the Republican side, governor of Virginia, who doesn't seem to carry nearly the baggage of rhetorical misfortune that has been exhibited at the debates. Is that a possibility happening?
Well, the problem is the fact is that the general population of Republicans say no. What's forcing him considering is that all the money people are looking for somebody to stick their money because they want to take it away from everybody else. For Youngkin's problem, the fact he's too moderate to take on Trump. Trump will eat him alive.
Yeah.
Might have to wait. Might have to wait for some of the trial proceedings to go forward. But there is a problem in New Jersey. Senator Robert Menendez is under federal indictment yet again. This time for allegedly bribery for acting as a foreign agent for the country of Egypt. This is the second time he's faced similar federal indictment. He was acquitted in the first case.
Wasn't acquitted. It was a hung jury.
It was a hung jury. I stand corrected. And it seems as though the smoking guns are literally falling out of his clothing with the search warrants.
He came out and he was like, "Oh my God, they're just going after a Hispanic person. They can't stand to see us successful." And then he said, "I've been withdrawing money because concerns about in Cuba where they seize money. So I've always been withdrawing money in my bank account and sort of stashing it away." Well, the counter to that is that the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office say they have fingerprints from one of the bribers on there, and from the driver, who knows? You could send the driver to the bank, "Hey, pick up some money for me," but he's got the fingerprints of one of the indicted business members on that money.
Allen, he sounded like a former Chief Hart who said that all the money that was in the ceiling was from gambling and poker nights.
Right.
Yeah. He had much more money. Yeah, he has much more money. Unfortunately, I think this time is going to catch up with him. Unfortunately, I think he will not. I think he will be convicted. However, I agree. I can see why he would not resign right now because he needs those paychecks to come in to pay for that legal defense because everything's been confiscated.
Well, the Democrats need another senator because the late Dianne Feinstein just passed away, and the governor in California is caught between a rock and a hard place. He said he was going to appoint a black woman. Now the black woman that wants it is running for the Senate. Now he says he's not appointing anybody that's in the race. So he is, he's going to have to make up his mind real soon.
Well, what's happening with Menendez, the fact is, if you were consulting Menendez, you don't want to say, "I'm going to step down" until you cut a deal. I'll step down if you give me the following. Because, as a matter of fact, Mike Duggan did that. Kwame, all the McNamara did. All the people been in politics. When something happens, they cut a deal by staying.
Kwame didn't cut the deal.
Well, no, Kim Worthy did it for him.
Yeah, well, Kwame wouldn't cut a deal, so he didn't do it.
But no, that's what's happening now. With the Feinstein thing, I think what Newsom's going to say, the fact, "I'm going to appoint you if you're going to admit the fact that you're not going to run in the general." He'll have to get a commitment out of whoever he appoints.
Right.
Well, you need to do it quickly. And you're right about the senator out of New Jersey. He got leverage right now. That seat is leverage.
Well, Pennsylvania Senator Fetterman actually had a nice retort to Menendez when Menendez says, "Oh, I keep this money around in case there's an emergency." Fetterman tweeted, he says, "Well, we keep an extra flashlight around for family emergencies around the house." I'm like, well done him. Yeah. Well, it looks like this was inevitable, but former Michigan State University football coach Mel Tucker, he of the 10-year, $95 million contract, has not only been terminated for cause by the university, but he has also indicated that he is amply lawyered up and is planning on filing suit for wrongful termination. How is this going to play out?
Well, he should have just called 1-800-JACK-OFF, and he would have had his $80 million in the bank.
I'm not sure that the issue is going to be whether or not there's cause under the contract and how that's defined. It's a good case. I mean, it's a good issue for him, obviously, to litigate because he's got $80 million out there. My guess is what's going to happen is that they'll file and they're going to resolve, maybe for half, maybe for a third. But it's better for both parties to try to put this thing behind them if they can. But he's got a legitimate claim. The question is what he did cause for discharge, and it may be repugnant to us. It may be an embarrassment, but does it hit that standard? And that's a legitimate claim.
Well, the only thing that I can tell you guys is the fact that when you're here in Lansing, the board knew about this in January of this year. Okay, what was going on? They kept it quiet, hoping it would go away. So we may have another problem with the board and MSU as they did with NASA. They hid it for most of the year.
Right, and but the argument is essentially that because they didn't do anything in January when they knew, now it's just bullshit what they're doing now. And
right. It's a lot of concern with that. And right. And as an alumni of MSU, of course, this really hurts us again. But I do think at this point, I believe they do have a cause. I think what they need to do is just settle this, which they will. I believe the coach, of course, the former coach should, fight for his contract, at least some money to get a settlement. Unfortunately, I think that, his actions does rise to that level, especially, coming off the heels of we've been coming off with the former doctor. And then you're talking about phone sex. So I think MSU really needs to, the board and the president, the interim, they need to explain, what happened. They've had this information for a while, but I think Tucker, he has admitted what he's done, but I think he also really needs to see that, yes, what he was wrong. And the reputation, his contract, you had a person who was working under a contract for the university, for your team, and you think this is appropriate behavior. It's just really, really sad. On the other hand, as well, I really want to know also as well, yes, he was wrong. He should have been fired. I'm glad they made that decision. He probably will get a settlement, but again, it's a lot. It is a gray area, like he was saying, consensual on some of the things, talking at midnight. Did she report this? Did she go? What things happened? But the bottom line is, I think he deserved to have been fired for his actions that he admitted. It raises to that level, and I think they'll probably make a settlement, and other questions will come, or who knew what, when, where, and what did you do with the information for the future?
Not only that, the other thing that pissed them off is the fact they announced his firing a day before they were supposed to give him his $9 million check. That's what pissed them off.
Well, isn't part of this less about the whole notion of what he did, but from the university standpoint that it brought ill repute to the university? So they could make the argument, Joel, that, well, we kept it under wraps hoping it would blow over, but once it did go viral, we had no choice but to act, and it's then indisputable that he brought disrepute to the university.
My guess he'll dispute that, so it won't be indisputable. And
but Joel, I also heard the fact that he had a moral turpitude clause in his contract.
Correct, but the issue is going to be whether or not this was really between two consenting adults who are thousands of miles away that had a history. We don't know what that is, and my guess is that it's not as clear as we think it is. It never is. His story, when we get down to it, and her story, there's going to be facts you don't know about that are going to weigh against each and help each. And that's what forces a settlement. It's going to be a case where he does have a legitimate claim, even though you may think it's weak. It's a legitimate claim to argue. The Michigan State doesn't want to go into the depth of this case. They don't want all these other facts to come out. There's an interest on both sides to resolve what they're going to. Even though you can be disgusted by his behavior, he's got a right to fight to keep the contract alive.
Yeah, I agree he should. Yeah, I definitely agree he should fight. But then I also heard some of the things he was claiming while some occurrences happened on personal time, even when they were out of town, but you were out of town on MSU business. So how is that personal time if some of these dialogue and conversations were occurring?
Well,
it's a gray area.
But a lot of the law that looks at this is how close is there close proximity to the harasser and the harassed? Is there some intimidation here? There may be just by virtue of taking the contract, but physically no, because you're so far away. So there's different factors that come up to play that are going to dictate how strong or weak both claims are. I'm just telling you, these cases are always more nuanced than you think. And this will be one of them. They'll be nuanced as well.
Wow, I don't know if we have enough bandwidth to follow yet another case, Joel, with all of the other things on court dockets around the country, but we'll find a place.
Yeah, but
Alan,
don't hire
I think
John Engler again to run the university.
Oh,
Oh no! Oh no! 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 No!
I think for Engler there needs.
Wait a minute. We'll take you to the streets then, and we'll get the UAW to join us on that one.
I think Engler will say there's a moral turpentine clause in my contract. So, Alan, I think it's about that time that we go to commercial.
All right, we're gonna do a commercial, and then we have a drop of humor before we get. All right.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. We are living through unprecedented times. As a result, the Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund was created. This fund, administered by the state of Michigan, is designed to help homeowners cope with pandemic-related hardships, such as delinquent property taxes. Residents may apply for up to $25,000 to help cover 2019, 2020, and 2021 tax years. Previous year's taxes must be paid in full or in a payment agreement with the Treasurer's office. Eligible homeowners must have a qualified financial hardship that occurred on or after January 21st, 2020. You must currently own and occupy your home as your primary residence and must have owned it since January 21st, 2020. To see if you qualify, please visit waynemetro.org, call 313-388-9799, or email taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
And now for some humor.
A little humor here.
I have to know, what is it like to be the last black president?
Seriously? What's it like for this to be the last time you ever talked to a president?
It must kind of stink, though, that you can't run, 3 times.
No, actually, I think it's a good idea. If I ran a third time, it'd be sort of like doing a third Hangover movie. Didn't really work out very well, did it?
That was great.
Timing. Okay, Alan.
All right. Okay, I'm sorry here. I was putting a comment up here. Let's get to the real deal here.
Downtown Detroit, Robert Wells, Schmuck of the Week.
Okay. Well, we had a nomination for a Schmuck from Bob Kurt Schilling for exposing, I think, Tim Wakefield's illness. I saw that on the on the news earlier. So thank you for that, Bob. And what did we lose? We lost Adolf.
We lost Adolf.
Hopefully he'll be back. I mean, maybe he's all schmucked out. Okay, Beverly, who's your Schmuck of the Week?
Of course, my number one has to be McCarthy. It has to be. I mean, I really wish he would just stand up and I'd be a schmuck this week and put the public in our country before the party. I mean, how dare he, the frontline workers will not get a check while he still, collects his check. Stand up, be a man, be an elected official. So he's my schmuck. And I have another one, Menendez. Of course, Menendez, of course. Okay. Even though he's a Democrat, but, you have nearly $500,000 laying around your house, okay, for a rainy day. I need that kind of fun for a storm. So Menendez also is my schmuck of the week. That's all I got.
Right.
It's two good ones.
All right, good ones. Joel.
Okay, I'll go with 2 as well. Yesterday at the end of, I think it was the third quarter, maybe in the third quarter, where the refs, there was a 0-0-0 on the clock. They don't throw a flag, and the Packers end up getting an incredibly deep pass, and they end up scoring. Drove me nuts. Drove everybody nuts. That's fine. The other guy is, I think it's Rick Johnson, who was sentenced, I believe. He was the marijuana guy in the cannabis board. Apparently took money, hookers, just had a great time from what I'm saying. And he was sentenced and Adina. And then he admitted that, yes, I am a corrupt politician. So, Mr. Johnson, you're my schmuck.
All right. Ed, who do you got?
2, I'll go with like that. My biggest smucker is DeSantis, because the fact he accused the vice president of coming up the theme that the fact that the Florida has a law that says that you benefit from slavery. And it was he never said that, and there's not a law saying that. Okay. My second smuck is the fact that it's looking like we may have a repeat of the Republican primary from 2022. Chief Craig announced today he's running for U.S. Senate.
Oh, really? Okay. Not surprising, because he was sucking up to Trump recently, saying what a great president he's been, and he'll be a great president.
Well, that's the reason he has to do the fact because Mike Rogers became a Trumper when announcing the FBI is being bad after working for them. And then number two, looks like Pete Meyer's getting in with the $10 million. So basically, Chief Craig is going to need money.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't think he's got it. You think he has a shot against some of the other? I mean, Rogers or even Peter Meyer?
Well, Craig will have a shot, but it won't be for election.
Okay.
All right, Alan, who do you got?
Mine is Mr. Pence. During the debate, he came out with I've got a solution to all these mass shootings. He goes, we need to install the death penalty. And I'm like, you moron. You think these people who are doing mass shootings are worried about dying? They assume when they go in and shoot up a grocery store or a school, they're going to die. Do you think the death penalty is going to be a deterrent? And he said it like, I've got the answer to this. I mean, the guy is just the weakest guy. He still wants credit for not overturning the election. He wants credit for obeying the law. He's such a lame guy. It's pathetic.
And Alan, statistically, there's no relationship between the death penalty in the state and the decrease in homicides. There's no relationship. So people aren't thinking, they're not thinking what's going to happen if these are impulsive.
Right.
There's not a lot of thought that's going into pulling that trigger.
It might be a deterrent for law-abiding people who are not going to do some
contemplating killing somebody.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, but I mean, the idea that any of these mass shooters would think oh my God, I could get the death penalty for this. I better not do it. I mean, just insane.
Well, news came down about an hour ago that Ethan Crumley will most likely be considered. It looks like the judge is leaning toward the idea that he may, in fact, serve life without parole. He issued a statement today saying that the prosecution has successfully made its case to say that Crumley is in fact eligible. December 8th, I believe, is the actual hearing or sentencing about it. So let's see what happens there. Okay, I've got, since everyone else was going for as many as two, I've got two schmucks. Actor who formerly played Hercules, Kevin Sorbo, for slamming the lack of quote-unquote manly men in Hollywood. And he actually name-checked Timothée Chalamet, who admittedly wears some rather interesting apparel on the carpet at award shows and elsewhere. But Timothée Chalamet is the Kwisatz Haderach. He is going to be the universe's supreme being in Dune 2, which comes out at the end of this year, which I'm anxiously awaiting. So, but the idea that Sorbo feels the need to go ahead and throw shade at male actors in Hollywood is remarkable and reeks of a certain level of desperation. That the days of the muscle-bound muscleheads is over. The other schmuck of the week is, I put this in quotation marks, rock guitar god Eric Clapton, who apparently hosted a fundraiser for none other than Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Makes a lot of sense when you realize that Clapton, apart from being an inveterate racist, also was a very enthusiastic, along with Van Morrison, anti-vaxxer during the COVID lockdown. So I suppose it comes as really no surprise that old Slowhand is with Bobby Kennedy too. So yes, also schmuck for that. Anyways, thank you for being on. Thank you for tuning in. A lot happened this week. And you know what? I think we actually got through everything and then some. So really appreciate that. Thank you, Ed Sarpolis. Thank you, Beverly Watts. Thank you, Joel Sklar. Thank you, Adolph Mongo in absentia. And thank you, Allan Lengel with the last word.
Drive home safely.
Take care, everybody. Have a